In today's video, I'm going to show you a PC build that's around $1,400 that is going to be enough to play at 1080p and also start playing at 1440p. This gaming PC is going to be ideal for esports titles at above 240 FPS average and high-end games like Red Dead Redemption 2 at 60 FPS average in high settings. So I think it's going to be perfect if your budget is $1,400. If it's below this number or above, you have a lot of gaming PCs that I recommend buying down below in the description. And I have as well a video about the best overall Prebuilt gaming PCs of the month by clicking in the top right of the screen. Now let's start and see the specifications for this PC. Now for the brain of the computer, the processor, we have the i5-11600K, which I think is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, CPU out there in terms of price performance, right there competing with the Ryzen 5 5600X. Again, this one is going to be more than enough for 1080p gaming in those games that are high CPU demanding video games. Also for editing and streaming is going to be enough at 1080p, and that's why I picked this one, because it's great for every single thing, and I think it's really underrated right now. For the CPU cooler, we have the Dark Rock Pro 4 50.5 CPU cooler, which I think is great, and there is no need to have a better cooler than this one for the i5-11600K, since it doesn't need a really expensive cooler, although this cooler is $90, which I don't think is really cheap, but it's going to get the job done. For the motherboard, I picked the Asus Prime B560 Plus. I think it's going to get the job done, and it's going to be paired with 16 gigs of RAM at 3600 MHz, and that's some really good speeds for the RAM, considering that it's an Intel CPU and you don't need that much. So if you want to cheap out on this build, maybe you can go with 3200 MHz speeds of RAM, but I picked this one because I think it's the best for this build. For the storage, I picked 1TB of M.2 SSD. If you want to cheap out, maybe go with the 500 gigs SSD option, and if you want more storage, I recommend you picking 2TB of hard drive if you don't want to spend in more SSD, because it's really expensive. For the GPU, and this is probably the most important part of this PC, and considering that GPUs are really expensive, I picked the RX 6600 XT, which I think is one of the best GPUs in terms of price performance, and it's right there competing with the RTX 3060, so it's going to get the job done at 1080p and even 1440p. Now considering that this type of GPUs usually are not on stock, or they go up in price and then go down, you should try to stay tuned at the market and see when you can get a GPU at a lower price, because when I made this video, this GPU was $200 less, but right now it's $200 more, so the whole build is going to be a little bit more expensive, and that's why I recommend you staying on your computer trying to see when these GPUs are on discount. For the case, I picked the Corsair 4000D Airflow case. I think it's going to be great for this type of build, and considering that you have already a CPU cooler, the whole gaming PC is going to be really cooled, and that is great. And lastly, for the power supply, I picked a 650 watts power supply, which I think is going to be way more than enough for this type of build. But if you want to upgrade it in the future with maybe an RTX 3080, that's when you want to change the power supply to an 850 watts power supply. Now this gaming PC at 1080p for Cyberpunk 77 is going to average more than 70 FPS average, and in 1440p around 44 FPS average, which I think is awesome, because we are talking about Cyberpunk 77, one of the hardest games to run right now in today's video games. Now like I said before, for esports titles, it's going to average more than 240 in every single competitive game if you lower the settings to competitive, but also if you higher the settings in games like CSGO and Fortnite, it's going to average more than 144 FPS, so it's still great if you want a 144Hz monitor or 241. By the way, I have a video about the best budget monitors that you can check in the top right of the screen as well, with my other video about Prebuilt PCs. But of course, a Prebuilt PC is not a bad option considering the prices right now, and if you don't know anything about Prebuilt gaming PCs, don't worry, I have you covered down below in the description as well with this PC build. And if you found this video helpful, please leave a like and subscribe, but most importantly hit the bell button so you get notified when I upload this type of content, which I do from 3 to 5 times a week, so make sure to stay tuned and support the channel. That will be amazing. Thank you guys for watching, thank you for the support, and I will see you on the next one.